America. You probably know the image, right? That dusty street, guys facing off, hands near their guns, then bang, smoke, it's all over. Classic Hollywood Wild West. But today, we're looking past that snapshot. We're getting into the messy, the real, the very human story behind one of the most famous gunfights ever, the one near the OK Corral. So this deep dive, it's about peeling back those layers of myth. We want to look at the family grudges, the politics, the sheer chaos that really led up to those 30 seconds in Tombstone, Arizona. It's a story told so many times, but the details often get smoothed over.
Exactly. And to help us unpack some of those details for you, we're looking at an excerpt from the gunfight at the OK Corral, a tale of law, outlaws, and legacy history in 5 minutes or less. It's brief, but it gives us a really solid base we can use to kind of extrapolate and get a better sense of the bigger forces at play, Understand what those key facts really imply.
Right. Let's set the scene then. Tombstone, October 1881. This place wasn't some quiet little town. No, it was a booming silver mining hub, full of prospectors, gamblers, saloon keepers, and, importantly, these guys called cowboys. Think of it like a pressure cooker, maybe. Lots of ambition, lots of opportunity, but also lots of tension just waiting to blow.
And that name, the Cowboys, it sounds almost romantic now, doesn't it? But the source makes it clear they weren't really like that. Often these were cattle rustlers, thieves, just generally rough characters. They sort of operated by their own rules. The Clantons, the McClory brothers, they were key figures in this group. They had a lot of sway out in the countryside and, frankly, a reputation for stirring up trouble, often bumping up against the law in town.
Okay, so you've got the cowboys on one side, seen as lawless. Who was pushing back against that? Tell us about the Earps and Doc Holliday.
Well, the Earps were kind of the other side of that coin. Virgil Earp, he was the town marshal, trying to impose some order. Then there was Wyatt Earp, the gambler with the cool head, and Morgan Earp, quieter, but apparently just as tough.
And Doc Holliday, he always stands out.
The Doc Holliday, a dentist suffering from consumption, loved his whiskey, and had a reputation for being incredibly fast with a gun.
Yeah.
They were trying to bring order, essentially. And those efforts, well, that's what really stoked the fire,
Yeah.
The Earp group, they represented the town's business side, people wanting stability, legitimate trade. The cowboys, they resisted that. It was almost bound to clash.
So things were tense, accusations flying back and forth, cattle rustling, stagecoach robberies, political disagreements.
Exactly, a real divide. You had the town establishment, represented by the Earps, and the more rural, rowdier element, the cowboys. Conflict felt pretty inevitable.
And it finally boils over on October 26th. What was the actual trigger? What kicked things off on Fremont Street that day?
It was pretty straightforward, actually. Ike Clanton, Tom and Frank McClory, and Billy Clanton, they were seen carrying guns in town.
Which was against the rules.
Right, against a town ordinance. So Virgil Earp, as the marshal, felt he had to step in. He got his brothers, Wyatt and Morgan and Doc Holliday, and they walked down Fremont Street, specifically to confront the cowboys about those guns.
Okay, so they head down the street and they find the cowboys. Where exactly?
They found them gathered in a vacant lot near the back entrance to the OK Corral. Not actually in the corral, which is a common misconception.
Okay. And this is where it gets fuzzy, right? What were the cowboys actually doing there?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because accounts totally vary. Some witnesses said it looked like the cowboys were getting ready to leave town, maybe trying to avoid a fight. Others were convinced they were spoiling for one, just waiting for the Earps to show up.
So even right before the shooting starts, there's this fog of conflicting stories.
Absolutely. And it shows you how history isn't always clear-cut, Whose version do you believe? It depends who you ask.
Yeah.
But whatever they were doing, the air must have been thick with tension. Virgil steps up, identifies himself as marshal, and tells them something like, "Throw up your hands. I want your guns."
And they didn't comply.
No. Instead of hands going up, there was movement, coats being opened, guns maybe being drawn. It's debated. But that's when the shooting started. A flurry of motion, and then chaos.
30 seconds. Dive into that chaos for us. Who fired first? Do we even know?
Still debated. Some say Billy Clanton, others maybe Tom McClory reaching for a rifle. Honestly, it probably happened so fast witnesses couldn't be sure.
So it wasn't a formal duel like in the movies?
Not at all. It was close quarters, messy, probably a lot of smoke from the black powder guns filling that narrow lot, shouting, gunfire echoing off the buildings. Just pure mayhem.
And the source gives some details.
It does. It mentions Doc Holliday reportedly hitting Tom McClory with a shotgun blast, right in the chest. Wyatt Earp, known for his cool head, was firing his Colt .45. Morgan and Virgil were shooting too. And the cowboys who were armed, Frank McClory and Billy Clanton, they fired back with pistols, maybe a rifle. It was a furious exchange.
And the result, when the smoke literally cleared.
Grim. Billy Clanton and Frank McClory were hit badly. They died soon after. Tom McClory also died from his wounds. 3 cowboys dead.
What about Ike Clanton, the one who'd been making threats earlier?
Ike was actually unarmed during the fight itself. When the shooting started, he apparently ran towards Wyatt, maybe pleading. Then he bolted. He fled the scene. Later, he claimed he'd been trying to make peace, but, he ran. Understandable, maybe, in that situation.
Incredible. An event that becomes this huge legend, this symbol of the West, over in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, the sheer speed of it is shocking. It really underscores how brutal and sudden violence could be on the frontier. It left a huge scar on Tombstone.
And it wasn't the end of the trouble, was it? The shooting stopped, but the conflict didn't.
Not even close. If anything, the gunfight just poured gasoline on the fire. Ike Clanton, seeking revenge, immediately had the Earps and Doc Holliday arrested.
Arrested? On what charge?
Murder. He accused them of murdering his brother Billy and the McClorys. This wasn't about justice settling things. It was about continuing the feud through the legal system, and maybe outside it, too.
So what happened then? A trial?
Well, first there was a preliminary hearing. It lasted about a month, which tells you something.
A whole month? Wow.
Yeah, it was a big deal. Lots of witnesses, tons of conflicting testimony, accusations flying back and forth. The whole town was watching and likely taking sides. It really showed how divided Tombstone was.
And the judge? What was the outcome?
The judge, Wells Spicer, eventually made his ruling. He decided that the Earps and Holliday had acted legally. He concluded they were acting within their authority as lawmen, trying to disarm men violating the ordinance, and that they reasonably believed their lives were in danger when the cowboys seemed to resist. So, legally, they were cleared.
But that legal ruling didn't convince everyone, I imagine.
Not by a long shot. Public opinion was still sharply split. A lot of people, especially those sympathetic to the cowboys or just distrustful of the Earps, truly believed it was cold-blooded murder.
So the official verdict didn't really heal the Pound's division.
No, it solidified them in some ways. It became this contested event. Was it law enforcement doing its job, or was it an ambush? People argued about it for years. Still do, really.
And the violence didn't stop there either, did it? The feud continued.
Tragically, yes. The bad blood just kept boiling. Morgan Earp was assassinated not long after, ambushed while playing billiards.
Terrible.
Yeah. And Virgil Earp was ambushed too, shot in the arm, leaving it crippled for life.
So the remaining Earps didn't just leave it at that.
Wyatt Earp especially didn't. Fueled by grief and, frankly, a desire for vengeance, he gathered some allies, including Doc Holliday. They went on what's now called Wyatt Earp's vendetta ride. They tracked down several men they believed were responsible for attacking his brothers and killed them, bypassed the courts entirely.
So it became outright vengeance. The lines blurred completely.
Absolutely. It shows how easily things could spiral out of control, how the quest for justice could become something much darker.
So looking back at the gunfight itself, it's become this huge symbol, hasn't it? The ultimate Wild West showdown.
It really has. It represents that raw, untamed frontier spirit in the popular imagination.
But digging into it like we have today, it's just so much messier. It wasn't good guys versus bad guys and white hats and black hats.
Not at all. It was a tragedy, really. Flawed people, tangled motives, simmering resentments, all colliding in a town that was itself on the edge, trying to figure out what law and order even meant. It's a microcosm of that whole struggle.
It really underscores how these historical moments, the ones that get turned into simple stories, are usually way more complex and, frankly, more interesting when you look closer.
Exactly. That History in 5 Minutes source gives us the bones, the key facts, but exploring the context, the motivations, the aftermath, that's where you really understand the weight of it.
And it makes you question other stories too, doesn't it?
It really should. It challenges you, the listener, to think about how much of history is shaped by who tells the story, how narratives get simplified, how perspectives get lost. It makes you wonder, what other famous events have a much more tangled reality hidden beneath the surface? What other simple stories aren't so simple after all?
Definitely food for thought. So maybe the question to leave you with is this. When you have conflicting accounts, conflicting beliefs like they did in Tombstone, how do you even try to figure out what really happened? And what is this whole story from the gunfight to the vendetta ride? Tell us about that thin, thin line between upholding the law and just seeking revenge. Something to chew on.